Apple and cinnamon, breakfast of champions. Oatmeal with apple and cinnamon, and a tea, of course. Good morning. It's Sunday, October 25th. Project rundown for the winter. It's a little bit cold out. It's 18 in here, so it's reasonable in here. I got the little space heater on. Outside it's I think 6 or 7 degrees here today. That's in Celsius. We'll have to see how the COVID situation will or won't allow me to do certain things. It's still, I'm finding it hard to find specific parts. There's a lot of made in China things that just aren't here anymore, and I'd rather buy, North American, especially Canadian made if I can. But I guess that's a political point. But from a economic standpoint, the suppliers are having a hard time. I know the local stores are not doing as well this year. There's a lot of layoffs and things. So I'm just trying to support local as much as I can. So as you can see, I didn't get a chance last year, or last winter. I had about 2 months worth of solid work left on finishing, and I just never got there because of the COVID. I was off the boat, and then once you're on the boat, like, you just don't want to sand and make dust and everything, because that's just a real pain. So I decided to delay kind of like sanding, finishing, and I went more with, well, let's just install some electronics and get my engine working, that sort of thing. So there's a few things that I learned. Just going to talk about solar panels. What I learned with the motor is that when you run it at 20 amps, so that 20 amps gives me about 3 knots boat speed. That's what I get up to. Just constant, and I mean, it's okay to get around the marina, but it's not like if I wanted to go a longer distance, I'd like to get to 4.5 knots, somewhere around there. Maybe 5 would be awesome, but I think that's unrealistic. So there's a couple things that are on there. So my energy for running the motor past 20 amps, I've got a couple problems. The batteries just can't give me that much output. So during the day, the solar is giving me some output, and as mentioned, 400 watts, so 48 gives me about 10 amps. So that's about the most I can get. It's a little less than that, so it's more like maybe 8 amps at peak. So my 400 watt solars give me about 8 amps. So the power draw on the motor is 20. So I can't just run it off the solar, but that 8 amps peak sun, or even if I just get 5 amps. 5 amps is 5 amps less that the batteries are coming off, that the energy is coming off the batteries, because there's a certain amount of charging going in there. So it runs all right. So I don't have room for massive amount of solar panels, so I'm going to have to fix the arch in the back. Basically, I'm going to build an arch with some dinghy davits on it. So I'm going to have it so that there's 4 panels above the bimini and 4 panels behind the boat on top of the dinghy davits. And then that is actually where I'm going to put, I'm going to move my LED, I'm going to move the flag out of the way, and I'm going to also adjust my backstay. So there's a few things in there, but that arch is needed to get my solar up. And I'm going to double up my quantity, so that is going to give me like maybe 12 to 14 amps at 50 volts, 48 volts. And I think that that's a good dent then, and it'll also increase my charging capacity. What I'm finding now is that I have the fridge, the slide-out freezer, and this runs every 45 minutes to maybe 5 minutes every 45 minutes, something like that. And it works pretty good. It's actually very low draw. That's one of the things I'm so glad to change to Victron Energy and actually be able to read this live. So right now I'm running 1 amp for what I've got on right now. So just powering, powering the fan in the composting head, powering the fridge. I've got a couple LEDs, just things like that that are on. There's a few things that I want to do. So I want to be able to add in a few other elements, the power pump for the water, just a number of other things here interior in the boat. Sometimes I have the lights on, but they're all LED. They draw less than an amp. So my induction cooktop draws 1,000. So I have a Victron Energy Phoenix 1200/48 volt inverter, and when I flip my switch here over to the inverter. Good morning.
Good morning. I need your help setting up Mom's computer. It says here.
All right. Got called for a tech support call. Just making myself some soup here for lunch later on while I'm waiting. All right, so where was I? Talking about solar arch. So I got that's kind of the main thing I think in the back, kind of that I want to do structurally. So once that arch is done, I'll have a platform to be able to put solar, my dinghy davits, and haul the dinghy out of the water. As I mentioned before, I'm blown away. Like, it's less than a minute, and without a whole pot of water, of course, but just a couple of cups or a cup and a half. It boils in under a minute with that induction cooktop. So it's really something else. All right, so that's one of the main reasons of wanting to do the solar arch, is because of the to add additional 800 watts or 400 watts for a total of 8. That's going to give me about, I'm guessing, 16 amps, which is pretty close to my draw. So if you're thinking about, okay, if I'm during the day and I'm using 20 amps, then I'm really only taking 4 from the battery, and I'm taking 16 from the panels. So the draw at 4 amps from the battery should actually give me quite a bit more longevity on the batteries. So right now it's being estimated at close to 4 hours, but it's making the assumption that there's no charging going on. So that's one thing. So the second thing I want to do is add in a generator. It's a twofold reason why. Number one is that although I probably will not use it very often, in the future I probably do want a water maker. I don't have one right now, so I'm just researching that, but that takes a lot of power. So I'd like some way to be able to make water on the boat. So that's one reason. It's for life safety. So that's a future reason. So the more current reason, I should be able to find something to help charge the batteries in combination with the solar. I'm even considering wind as additional complements to just get myself above 20 amps. So if I can get myself to 30 amps of draw, or 40 amps at 48 volts for the motor, then I can actually really move this boat quite well for a long period of time. And it's sort of like the law of diminishing returns. The faster you go, more amp draw you do, the much quicker you deplete your batteries. It's like a logarithmic type thing. So if you just sort of putt along, you can actually go quite far. But if you need to go fast for a short period, you just deplete it, but you barely go anywhere. But you get there pretty fast. So that's why I want to put a generator in. So over the course of the winter, I'm going to spend some time seeing how to find one, and then how do I put it in the boat somewhere where, you know, it won't be in the way, it won't be an eyesore. So I got to sort out that part. So that's the generator project. So my last thing, and this is all engine related. Sorry, there's still two more. Sorry, I need to get rid of these dry cell lead acid batteries. So I'm going to switch to lithium. I did not understand exactly this. I'm not a battery expert or an electrical engineer by no means, but I know enough maybe to get myself in trouble a little bit. But the sticker said 440 minutes, 20 amps or 25 amps on the batteries. And I didn't quite understand what that meant. So what that means is that the batteries will give you power for 440 minutes if you draw it at a maximum rate of 25 amps. And it really works out to, it's about that, actually, now that I've had it a bit and done some testing. So my, Trojan equivalent deep cell 6-volt batteries, I have 8 of them. They're rated at 225 amp hour batteries. They do give me about close to 4 hours is what I'm guessing, like 3.5 hours, that type of thing. That is how long I should be able to go if I keep the amps less than 20. Well, a big storm coming or something like that, okay, that's going to be an issue. Like if I have a huge headwind, you need to push it, and if you bring it up to 80 amps or something, well, the batteries just aren't designed to deliver that much power. So again, you deplete them very quickly. They get hot, and you boil off some of the liquids inside. So lithium, you can bring right down to like 20% value. So if you had like 100 volts, you can bring that down to 20 volts. Like the depletion is much greater. And the second thing is you can suck it all out in a minute if you want, 2 minutes. It doesn't make any difference to the battery. So you could just full power, you're just pulling it out faster. So from the battery's perspective, you could take the stuff out of the battery much faster than the lead acid battery equivalent. So instead of at 50%, you're damaging the battery in lead acid. So for example, if my 48 volts went down to 24 volts, like I'm killing the batteries. So I have it set to 44 volts. I don't want to go anywhere near that. So I probably could increase that even more, but to me, there's what's the point? Like if you're damaging your batteries that much, then you don't have enough batteries or you don't have enough charging or something, right? So that's why I'm adding additional solar charging. But moving to lithium, I should be able to get the amp draw out faster. So if I have an emergency and I need to really go, then I'm going to do that. And then the year lifespan value on these, it's like 20 years that they'll last, whereas the golf cart batteries, a couple of years of continuous on off, or depletion charge. You need to change them much faster rate. So you're replacing these batteries fairly often if you're depleting or getting them drained quite a bit. I'm really light use, barely out, just to the marina and out. But once I start to use it on start using it for a couple of hours at a time, that's going to be a big thing. So lithium batteries is the thing I'm just going to be trying to figure out over the winter time. And then, so then there's going to be a new prop. So one of the reasons, this is kind of an interesting thing. So the previous owner of the boat liked to race. So what he had installed was a 2-blade prop, and it's really thin. It moves the boat, but some boats I see when they put it in gear, the boat just goes, there's a lot more thrust power than what I have. Mine is pretty light. So the new prop that I want to put on is a 3-blade prop, and then I'd like to get one that folds. By moving to a 3-blade prop with a like even if the pitch was the same, I'm going to get about 30 to 40% more power out of the prop, and I think that's an important element. And I'm thinking that the combination of changing the prop to give me more force and the slightly smaller gear ratio, I won't need to push the motor as much to get the same thrust. So it's sort of like to move the boat initially, it takes some effort, but then the boat's moving. So you get to whatever your hull speed that you're trying to get quicker. So I'm thinking that I'll be able to reduce my RPM by about 400 to 500 RPM on the motor, which probably takes my draw, like I said, if I'm about 1.5 kilowatts, I think I'll get down to 1.1, 1.2 kilowatts to still get my 3.5 knots. So just, speaking in equivalency terms. So that takes my 20 amps down to 16. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And then if I can make that happen, and I put my solar panel up to 800 watts, I'm going to have 16. My theory is I should almost be able to run it off the solar during peak charge periods. So obviously at night I can't, right? So you're more on the motor. But my charging during the day I think would be pretty good. Then it would lower it quite a bit, and I'd still be able to do 3.5 knots, which is sort of what I'm looking to do in the Erie Canal and the Hudson River. I might have to time my passage with the ebb and flow of the current better for traveling, mainly because I want the current helping me and not fighting current while I go through the Hudson River. But that's the main thing, because I think it comes in and out with the rising and lowering of the tides. I put 3 layers of fiberglass on top of a 3/8 plywood board initially to do the big flat piece. I just want to take that out and get machine shop to make me a solid either steel or just something that has 0 flex in it. And then I want to put 2, right now I've got those square post channels coming out. I just want to put 2 channels going back, even that little bit of overhang that I have, like there's a little bit of play, maybe 3/8 of an inch, I can move that pulley back and forth. So I think the combination of the stiffness of the upper mount and the bottom where the bottom pulley is, I think that'll get rid of that. I just want to have like an 1/8, or less of play. So I just want to stiffen up that. So basically that's one of the projects, it's stiffen the motor mount. All right, so those are my motor projects. All right, so carrying on, my next I guess set of projects is really what I'm showing here. It's interior work, and I'm just going to go cabin by cabin. I have most of the functional elements done, but here in the galley, I've got a couple of big ones that I need to do over the winter time. Probably actually the spring. I think those will be the last things that I do in terms of interior. The original boat only had a 30-gallon water tank here inside. Sorry, 30 liter. It was actually pretty small. So what I'm aiming to do is underneath the settee over here, there's on this half of the settee, I want to put, this is where the original water tank was, and underneath the galley cupboards, there's a bit of a room. I want to put either a couple of bladders down, whether they just be the bags for now, or if I actually want to do the epoxying in. I originally wanted to do epoxy it in, but I've been reading on the bags. It seems like people have good success with these bags, so I might just do that. So basically I want to have one water tank here, one water tank here, and I'm looking at doubling at least what my old capacity was. I want to have as much water on board as I can, and then the other thing is that I want to attach them together so that way they deplete together, and I'm able to then keep the weight balanced between the starboard and the port side. So water tanks, I think, is a big one for me. So we've got a storm here today. It's going to be kind of a crappy day. One of the things that I didn't finish on the outside is the traveler system. So you can see the traveler is just sort of like loose here on the track. I just don't have a way to pull it back and forth. So I want to put a 4-to-1 pulley system with a clutch. So I'm going to put a clutch here, and then a rope on both sides so I can manually pull the traveler one direction or the other. And I have to put one winch down, which we didn't get down, and then you can see my bag there just keeping the rain off of the controls, the motor controls. That I wanted to have in a waterproof enclosure or waterproof box with the new throttle out here. So basically the switches will be outside, and future would be autopilot. It's pretty of a bit of a crummy day with the rain, and you can see the fear from the viewpoint. The marina is getting empty. We're down to the last few boats. This is the last week. They all basically come out this week. And nice 38-footer here beside me. I thought I would just give a bit of a rundown on the winter projects for this year, and just wanted to thank everybody again for subscribing to the channel, following my progress. Appreciate any comments. I like talking about these things with other like-minded do-it-yourselfers. We can learn from each other by posting it, and I'm not professing to try to say how to do something. It's just more of what I'm doing and what I'm learning. That's really the main reasonings that I'm doing this YouTube channel. It's really to document my progress, so I can remember what I did and didn't do as well in the different stages, and my kids can look at it and have a good idea as well. So yeah, those are the core reasons. I wasn't aware that it was going to rain here today, but it looks like I got a bit of a rain cloud. And the wind's on my bow, so it's good that it's not coming in here. And it's cold. That looks all right. Looks all right. So yeah, so this was the water tank. You can see a little bit beat up, but it didn't leak. It just was pretty dirty inside, and I needed to get it out of there to redo the SETI. And then the fuel tank, well, I got rid of the engine, so this was a byproduct. Basically, I got that much space freed up, so yeah, I'm just going to bring those to the recycler and let them recycle them. They are changing their hours of operation from I used to be able to come in here basically 8 to 8. They're only allowing 8 to 8 on Saturday and Sunday, and 4 to 8 Monday to Friday. So I've got a little bit of I've got a lot less in the amount of time over the winter. Basically come here after work for a few hours. I do like the fact that it's got a secured gate, and they have security come through here. This is run by the Port Authority, so it's clean, and there is an emergency bathroom here if needed. The Griffin, that's the Canada Coast Guard. Then we've got the Kahama, I'm guessing. That's a tall ship in for repairs here. There's in behind that, there's an even bigger ship. I'm gonna go. There's the other Canada Coast Guard boat right there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I don't see the name on it. But so they got two huge Coast Guard boats here in for servicing. That's awesome.